Hello, this is Jackpot777, aka Sean, and I'm doing this video because of the last episode of Ted Lasso. Specifically the scene, and there's going to be a link down to the actual video of the scene from the very final episode of Season 3. In fact, the very final episode of the entire series, where Ted Lasso finally manages to point out when a player is offside, and in fact manages to do it with everybody else around not quite seeing it. And I'm going to explain to the non-football fans how exactly that happened and how good it was. So watch this and then go and in the link look at the video that shows it in real time to see if you would have been able to spot this as it actually happened. So, first of all, we get to what is called Law Number 11. According to the Football Association, the FA, and what is determined to be offside. Now, it's not an offence, as it says there, to be in an offside position. You can't be yellow carded. If you're already on a yellow, you can't be red carded, you can't be sent off, you can't be suspended for a number of games. It's just a position that you find yourself in where an unfair advantage might be played, and so play is brought back and the ball awarded to the other team. Now, a player is in an offside position if any part of their head, body or feet is in the opponent's half. It doesn't include the halfway line. So you have to be in your attacking half, and any part of the head, body or feet is nearer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball when it's played and the second last opponent. Now, it says head, body and feet. You'll notice that hands and arms are not included. So as far as offside goes and the video assistant referee, the VAR, we just imagine that players are armless. If they do play the ball with their arm, then obviously that's handball. That's a completely different law. And as it says at the bottom here, a player's not offside if they're level with either the second last opponent, if the two of them are level with each other, or if three players, the player that is deemed to be either on or offside, and the two players of the defending team happen to be completely straight with each other, those last two opponents. That has to be absolutely pinpoint though. But that's still written into the rule because that might be a possibility. So let's have a look at a graphic at what that means, because it does seem rather confusing. Here we have an attacking team in red aiming towards the goal with the yellow goalkeeper there, and you'll notice that the defending team, the yellow goalkeeper's team, are wearing the light blue. Now, if the red player with the ball were to play it backwards, that's not offside. He's in the attacking half as far as his team is concerned. But playing it backwards wouldn't be offside. And if he played it square, you see where the lines are on the pitch there. Well, there are no players square with him so on his team, so that doesn't really apply. The two players in question here are the player to the right of the field, which is on the bottom of the graphic, or the other player in red in the penalty box to his left. If he were to play the ball to the player on the right at the bottom of the graphic in the red shirt, there are two opposition players, the goalkeeper and that last defender where you'll see the red box area is. So he's playing to the player on his right at the bottom of the screen. There are two defenders that are playing him onside because they are closer to the goal than the player that will receive the ball. And it's all to do with when that ball is kicked, not when the other player receives the ball. If, however, he were to try and play this ball to the player on the left-hand wing, the one that's in the penalty area in the red shirt, then when the ball is played, there's only one defensive player, the goalkeeper, that's between the attacking player and the goal. So that player is offside if that's the case. That's a pretty simple graphic, but that adequately explains everything. One thing to note, however, is you'll notice that the law does say that it has to be the second last opponent, last two opponents. Because the goalkeeper is usually in that goal area and is usually one of the last players to have the ball past them before the ball hits the back of the net, everybody talks about the goalkeeper and the last defender. You'll notice that the light blue guy who's on the edge of that red box, he's the last defender. And people, when they're looking for whether or not something is offside, because they're used to the goalkeeper wearing a different coloured shirt and being there on or near the goal line, their eyes will just quickly scan for the last defender wearing the different coloured shirt to the attacking player to determine whether or not it's offside. But of course we can see there, based on the freeze frame of this rather cartoonish video, that that the player on the left would be, if they were to be played the ball, they would be offside. So what does this mean to the actual video in question? What we have to do is we have to freeze frame at the exact point that the ball was played by West Ham. And there it is. There's the ball at the exact moment that it's played. The number 14 player, here you see, is on the 6-yard line. And there's a defender. He looks like Jan Maas. I'm going to say he is Jan Maas. He'd be playing that number 14 West Ham player onside if there were a second defender. Normally I say we look for the goalkeeper. We're kind of like quickly scanning. And so we're just basically going, okay, goalkeeper, yeah, fine. So we're looking for the last defender shirt, the red and blue shirt of the AFC Richmond player that's playing the number 14 onside. But there's the important thing. The goalkeeper, as I said, is usually in that goalkeeper area. But Thierry Zero had just rushed out of the goal, of course, as a defensive measure to punch the ball clear, and is now running back to his line. So he's not the second defender. The second defender is Isaac McAdoo here, the number 5. You'll see that Roosevelt, number 33, and Obisanya, number 24, are still running, but they're well outside the penalty area. They're not of concern. So that makes McAdoo the second defender. And when we draw the VAR lines in, when we see that the West Ham player, number 14, on the 6-yard box line, and McAdoo, his furthest part of his leg, because, as it said, any part of the head, body, or feet that's nearest to the goal line. So as you see, the tip of his boot would be his furthest forward part, is it's like 5-6 yards off of being onside. So that means that number 14 is clearly, in this freeze frame, you can see is clearly offside. And, the decision would be a no goal. However, at the time that it was played, you would have just been scanning for McAdoo. Sorry, not McAdoo. McAdoo is the one running on. For Jan Maas, there in the central defensive role. And you'd just kind of like go, oh, yeah, there we are. There's the last defender. He's onside. But Ted had eyes enough to see that, of course, the goalkeeper had rushed out. He was actually looking for a second defender still in a Richmond shirt in the red and blue. And he saw clearly that although McAdoo was just about level with the player passing the ball, that's not what determines offside. It's where the player that would be receiving the ball is when that ball is passed. And that is why it is so clearly an offside decision. So go back, watch the video, keep that in mind, and that is why Ted Lasso, not only for the human aspect of the show, but also for the technical excellence of how they were able to integrate a Football Association law of offside perfectly into the storyline and have it be the setup for when Beard seasons before said that if Lasso were to manage to get what offside meant, he would get money for it. That's how it paid off in the final episode. So thank you very much for your time, and that's why Ted Lasso, one of the greatest coaches in the Premier League, imaginary, fictional, but still great show. Thank you.